And that's where other operating systems really miss the boat because they don't help you prep properly, especially in beginning stages of a new entrepreneur. They don't have that knowledge. And that's why I believe most entrepreneurs don't make it through.
I just thought how cool that we get to tell people, because no matter how big your business is, you can have goals, you can have plans, you can have objectives, you can have rocks, but if you're not really working towards achieving them, you'll be exactly where you are this time next year, or this time this year, next year.
Yeah, or you spark a little bit of opportunity with luck, and you end up falling flat on your face because you have no structure or organization. So I've seen both. I've seen people really just never go anywhere. They become a single point of failure in their own business because they don't have, it's rough. Or the opposite happens where the market excels them, their product excels, and they're not ready for it. And so they fall flat on their face. So not planning properly can lead you in a really ugly place. And so many businesses miss this. They don't understand it, especially with creating a vision plan. And I think there's operating systems out there like the one mentioned a minute ago that doesn't take that consideration. There's no finance in that operating system. So when you don't have projections, you don't create a business pro forma that creates a budget, that creates a P&L, that gives you a variance report, you leave yourself in a really ugly place, especially when you go out and start hiring people. And so the pro forma should match up to that revenue growth that you're showing month over month to get to that annualized one-page goal, right? And then that performance should match out 100%. Because if you get to month March and you have not hit the revenue goal, you should not be adding the goals of hiring the people. And when you do that, you'll cannibalize all your profits and leave yourself in an ugly place. I had a client in real estate, and they were in upstate New York doing fix and flip. It was July of 2023, yeah. And I walked in and I said, hey, let's create this vision, right? We started way out there at BHAGO, worked it all the way into 1 year. We get into the 1 year, and really what we did was we just went for the rest of the year. Instead of like trying to do it at the end of the year, this last 6 months, what are we gonna do this year, right? And we'll reset at the end of the year. So I said, how much have you already made? And he says, I've made about 400,000. I said, all right, so let's look at the rest of the year. How much do you project you're gonna make total this year with the 400? He said, about $1 million. I said, well, we're in July. You've got half of the year left. You're 60% more of what you're projecting. You still got to do that. He said, yeah, I think I can do it. You know, with your coaching and things like that, I can get there. I said, perfect. Let's do a business performance. Let's start projecting this thing out. We started looking at it and found out, what's your cash conversion cycle? He's like, well, I don't know. So well, let's walk it through. So we do a thing called SIPOC, which is supply, input, process, output, customer, right? So that's where your leads come in. Yeah. Customers where your revenue comes in. That's your cash conversion cycle. In the world of Six Sigma, that's how you map out a cash conversion cycle. Supply, input, process, output, customer. And then in between those, that's where your cycle times are. From the time you market to the time you get the lead. From the time you get the lead to the time you get an agreement. From the time you get an agreement to the time you fulfill on it. From the time you fulfill on it to the time you get paid. That's your SIPOC, right? And so we did this process with him. This gentleman was 14 months. His year was over. Yeah. I'm like, what do you got in the pipeline that'll actually close at that back end of that cash conversion cycle that'll close this year? Like 300,000. Yeah. So we're setting about $700,000. If we would have allowed him to project $1 million, spend the money on the $1 million and expenses to produce $1 million.
Out of business.
He would have been out of business by the end of the year. And that's where other operating systems really miss the boat because they don't help you prep properly, especially in beginning stages of a new entrepreneur. They don't have that knowledge. And that's why I believe most entrepreneurs don't make it 3 to 5 years.
Let me go real quick. I know you just think about it. Same case. I was helping a customer up in New York, and he was saying he was going to flip X number of houses more.
Okay.
And I started doing it. Well, how long to find it? How long to fix it? How long to market it? How long to close it? Mm-hmm. How many more units will you have in inventory at each point in time? What's the duration effect of that? What's the needed capital?
Yeah.
And he was like, 500,000 short of even being able to execute on that idea.
That vision, sure.
When you were just talking, all I could think about was the importance of knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
And not just knowing your numbers, because that's such a vague comment. Because what does that mean?
Yeah.
It's knowing everything. What's the data? And like having data-backed opinions versus just your anecdotal thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I've been working on is like, I have my instincts, but your instincts are worthless if it's not backed by data.
Yeah.
And like, because even in my own company, Hey, we're doing fine because the bank account says we're doing fine.
Yeah.
That's the worst, at least in my experience, the worst way to run a business, because I was burning $35,000 a month.
Yep.
And I didn't know it because I didn't look at my budget.
Yep.
Because I had my bank account said I was doing fine, but we weren't. So, but it's like knowing your numbers. But what I've been working on lately is, okay, I understand that client A pays this, and then my weekly burn is this.
Am I client A?
You can
You
be.
pointed at me.
There you go.
Okay.
Depending on how much you're willing to pay.
But then it's like, okay, but how much time? Because we don't our cost of goods is time.
Yeah.
You know, obviously we have our capex on equipment and whatnot.
Sure.
But our cost of goods is time. Okay, but how much time is actually going into a project? And what I've learned is, one, I'm severely undercharging the market, and I have to learn by that. It's not like I'm going to renege on too much stuff, but it's like, okay, now I know how to price the next thing. But I would never know how to have those conversations if I didn't know the numbers and actually do that data. So another thing that we are implementing is in our company in the last 2 weeks is an app called Clockify, where it's like every single minute you're working, not to micromanage you, but I want to know where your time is going per our client. So if we're working on a Tim Harris project, cool. But which video of the Tim Harris project? Is it a reel? Which reel? Is it long form? Is it long form? Or is it a Corey Thompson? Is it Satoki Mining? Is it whoever? Where is your time going? Because if I've got a client who's paying us 10 grand a month, but it's costing us $15,000 a month to service that client, we're losing money, and we're never going to be able to scale. We're never going to be able to grow. 100%. So all that to be said is the value of knowing your numbers. But to say know your numbers, you have to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And to your point, most people don't. It's like an onion. You just got to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper.